G'day fellas. Today I'm bringing you some more gameplay from the Dutch. The Dutch are quickly becoming my favourite civilization in the Definitive Edition, and primarily just because they're able to build such a strong economy while at the same time maintaining unit production, and they've got that huge late game presence in South Africa as a revolution. So we're up against India, Inca and Sioux, and we're playing as the Dutch, and we've got as our teammates the British and also the Sioux. So the build order that we're going to be looking for today is a very heavily focused economic build order. So we're going to be starting out with 3 settlers. We're going to be sending that as soon as we can. Then we're going to be transitioning into a bank wagon, then 700 wood, and then 600 wood. But if we do receive pressure early, or we look like we're going to get pushed, we will ship 8 pikes instead of 600 wood. Then after the 600 wood, we do eventually ship it. Then we'll be shipping the church card so that we can get our extra banks in. So with our build order, what we're aiming to do is maintain constant villager production and constant skirmisher production throughout the early game. We should be able to hit it if we macro correctly. So the age up that we're going for is a 12 villager age up with the 3 villagers on top. So that's a 15 villager age up. So once I hit 100 coin here, I'm going to be taking all of my settlers off coin and I'm going to be moving them over to food. I'm also helping out my ally here with a treasure, which is why I'm going a little bit over. I'm making sure that I don't take my wood crate off the ground either. Now, I would be taking it off the ground if I was closer to my allies, just simply because of the way that the new villager mechanic works. But because Chopper, he's a little bit further away from me on this map, I'm not worried about his villagers coming over. So now we're into transition. There's really no discussion about this in team games. It's always going to be the quartermaster that we go for. So we're aiming to hit 350 food and 350 wood with our villagers at the same time. So normally that means about 5 on food and 10 on wood. In this case, I picked up quite a big food treasure. So it means that I haven't needed to go so heavy on food. And I've over macroed it a little bit. So we scout out this aggro fort here. So because we're up against the Indian player, you can never really know which way they're going to go, whether they're going to go Zambaraks, whether they're going to go aggro with the Agra. But because they've got the Sioux's most likely going to be doing bow riders, and then the aggro fort's going to be pumping out Sepoy and Gurkha. So our response to that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing a bit more defensively. So with our 400 wood that's arrived, we're going to be putting up our barracks. We're going to be putting up 2 houses as well with it. But we're also going to be shifting that 1 settler over to wood. Now that 1 settler on wood is going to enable us to be putting up walls. It's really important that we try and get our hunts in as best that we can. It is difficult with the new hunts, the way that they work. You really got to be on top of it. Even for an experienced player like me, incredibly difficult to be on top of. But we're going to start building those walls. And what these walls do is they act as a disincentive for our opponent. They can come in, they can bring it on in, but they know that I'm Dutch. They know I've got skirmishers, I'm going to have the TC fire, I'm going to be building up this nice little pocket in my base. It's going to be incredibly difficult for them to push in, and the only way they're really going to be able to take me out is if they've got cavalry. And so it's just by putting up this little wall, we can see it disincentivizes the opponent. So now the enemy is scouting us. We're at the 6-minute mark, so we should be expecting an attack any moment now. The enemy has sent through his little explorers, and just by scouting that wall, he has made a decision right there that no, I don't want to be involved right here, because the defense that this guy's putting up is more than what I was expecting, and as a result, we're going to move elsewhere. We're going to shift elsewhere. So that means we begin to see on the minimap that the trading post that my Sioux ally has taken has now got an enemy presence at it, and my allies called out to me and said, "Hey, they're over our side. Come on over." And so the enemy begins to push in to my allies' base. So we're going to go help him out. We've shipped in our 8 pikes. Our 8 pikes are important because they're going to enable us to have mobility with our skirmishers. We don't have to rely on our allies to be with us constantly. And we're shipping our 600 wood. So this 600 wood's going to enable us to get up our 4th bank. And after that, we're going to just continue producing skirms. The key here is that with our skirmisher mass, we don't want it to die. If our skirmisher mass dies, it's incredibly difficult for us because it means that we then have to reinvest heaps of resources in putting more units on the field. What we want to do is keep our skirmisher mass alive so that we can continue up going from the 2nd age to the 3rd age and then the 4th age without having to rebuild any units and without having to really slow down. We can just go as fast as we want. So I just really want to emphasize how important it is that we just continue adding units slowly but steadily to our mass. We're just trickling in skirmishers, because this skirmisher mass is going to be what we rely on in the mid and the late game, because we're going to be upgrading our skirmishers to guard units very, very shortly. So now we've moved forward, we're dropping down some further banks. We're building up quite an economy behind this. We've taken down the Agra fort, and we're pushing into the enemy's base. So at this point, the enemy's in a difficult position. It doesn't look like he's getting much help from his allies, but I'm warning my ally and saying, look, I'm going to be going up soon. We need to keep our mass. If we lose our mass, what's going to happen is the enemy's going to have the upper hand. But if I'm able to get up, I'm able to keep all my units, I can get my veterancy upgrades, and then if I can get up again, I'm going to have really, really powerful units. So let's just chill out. We'll move back towards the town center, and then from there, we'll just wait for the opponents to push in. And so that's exactly what we do. We wait for our opponents to push in, and now I'm on the way to Industrial. So we're heading towards Industrial. It's only 15 minutes at this point. As a Dutch player, I think I've got 8 banks up. So that's the 5 that you start with, the 2 from the unique card, Religious Freedom, and then I've got the Bank of Rotterdam as well shipped. And so what we're doing is just really making sure that we avoid losing units. The key with your skirmisher mass, always make sure there's something else in front of them. If your ally has muskets, you probably want those muskets in front. Now, I'm happy to trade in this position here, but that's because I know I'm not going to be losing a lot of units. So now we're up to Industrial. Our economy is absolutely booming. The first card we're shipping is Tulip Speculation. It's really important we get this card out before we hit our revolution, because once we hit our revolution, we are unable to ship this card ever again. So it's important that we send everything we need. So my ally, the Sioux, he's under quite a bit of attack at this point. You can see his score is dropping way down. He's under 10,000 points now. He's lost his TC. He's actually down to 11 villages. That's the lowest that it gets. You can see the Sioux and the Inca are just absolutely destroying his village account. So the game becomes somewhat of a 2 versus 3 in this state. And it really is a great opportunity for me to show and demonstrate the power of the South African Revolution. So these skirmishes, as I've been harping on this entire game, are the same skirmishes I've been building from the 5th minute. I've been so careful to avoid losing these skirmishes, because these skirmishes are the backbone of my army. If I don't have these skirmishes, I can't hit Industrial. These skirmishes must survive. So now our ally, we see him, he's rebuilt his town center to the north, and we're doing our best to try and help him out so that he isn't continuing to die. They really just didn't like him a lot, and we managed to click up to our revolution at just before 20 minutes. Now, there's a couple of cards that I didn't get to send that I really did want to send. Things like team infantry hit points, the infantry combat card, but at the end of the day, it's just important that I hit my revolution as quickly as possible, because it's going to give me that immediate economy upgrade, and that's what I want. So the first shipment arrives, I ship my first of 3 factories. I don't keep 2 factories in my deck, in my main Dutch deck, and the reason why is because I know that I'm not going to be in Industrial for long before I'm hitting that revolution. And so now we begin to see the economy really hit overdrive. So as a Dutch player, I'm already at 107 military population. I've only got 50 villages. And so it's really, really important that I begin building a forward base, because I've shipped I've shipped riding school, which increases the speed that my cavalry will train at, but I haven't shipped the infantry fencing school. Now, the reason behind this is because when it comes to these late game fights, we're going to be zerging our opponents. With the barracks, we can create 1 unit, which is the skirmisher. But with the stable, we can create 2 units, the hussar and the router. Now, I'm sure a lot of people might say, well, hey, you can create the halberdier. Well, the halberdier does the same job as the router, and the router does it so much better. It is, in my opinion, it is one of the best units in the game. It's very pop efficient, incredibly high DPS, very mobile. So you just always want to be building it. And so that's why we're shipping it. So now we're shipping the card that's going to allow us to train Coureurs de Bois. Coureurs de Bois are the French villagers. So we're now able to train 30 of them. By training 30 of them, that'll take us to 80 villager population. And here we've got a battle breaking out towards the Indian base. And we just continue rallying in troops. We're at 164 population. We're slinging our allies. Keep in mind, this is 2v3 at this point. Where our Sioux is dead, so it's really just we're trying to do our best. But you can see I've got 5 barracks here, all pumping out stacks of 5 skirmishers, and the economy is just going up incredibly quickly. And now I'm in a position. So one of the great things about the South African Revolution is how many shipments they get that are for forward building. So you've got forts and fort wagons. And what I'm shipping now, which is 5 military wagons. That's 5 wagons that can turn into barracks, stables, or artillery foundries. So it means that this forward base that I've built here, which is on our side of the trading line, is going to become redundant very soon because I'm going to be able to bring those wagons forward. And there you can see now we're on the other side of the trading line, and I've brought my barracks and stables across the trading line. And in this position, what we're doing is we're just continuing to flood units in. This is really just a Zerg strategy. And now dropping down our homestead wagons, turning them all into plantations, because our Coureurs de Bois are going to be gathering up coin for us. And we're just Zerging the opponent. That's all we're doing. And the great thing about this revolution is that it's so easy to macro for. If you've got high food, that's not a problem. You just train some hussars. If you've got high coin, just train more routers. It's really easy. And as long as you've got that constant mass of skirmishers behind, roughly 40 to 50 skirmishers, you're going to be okay. Then you're going to get into a position when you hit maximum population where you're going to have so many resources, your units aren't going to be dying fast enough, your enemy's not going to be killing them quickly enough, that you're going to be in the position where you can begin sending resources to your allies. I was in the very fortunate position where I had so many resources that I was able to get my allies back in the game and help them out. Now, credit to them. Braden, who's playing under the name Red X, knew exactly what to do in this situation. So he's been knocked out completely, so all he needs to do is put up 3 TCs and get his villager count up to 100. That's all he does. We don't think about him for 10 minutes. All we have to do is hold, and then he's going to be back in the game. I've got an economy, though, where I can support him and I can support Chopper. I'm able to fund both of their Imperial ages. I'm still able, at the same time, to pump out units to the front line to the point where our enemy can't do anything. I'm then shipping forts to gain control at both our home base, where we're being raided by the Inca, and at our front base, where we're being pushed, and it's in that position that the opponent resigns. And so here we see the final graph, 155,000 resources I've gathered compared to the 124,000 that the Incan player, so Inca are they're in the top 2 tiers of booming civs, the exact same as the Dutch. So we're just absolutely miles ahead. And you can really see at the point of revolution is really where it starts to take off. And he almost, begins to catch up to us. But keep in mind, we didn't even play a heavy economy revolution here. Just because of the position we're in, where Braden was taken out, we made sure that we got our factories in immediately and started getting that coin income so that we could begin or continue just making units over and over and over again. I hope that this has been a good look at the South African Revolution. I genuinely think that this is the only viable late-game Dutch strategy that there is. So other than that, if you haven't already joined the Discord, I encourage you to do so. We've got lots of great resources on there, including my deck picks. So if you're interested in seeing those, I encourage you to jump on and take a look. Other than that, I hope you've been able to take something away from this. Thank you for watching.